Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Hi, folks. Cesar here. I got some great shows lined up over the month of May. I have a very special show this evening. In fact, this is going to be my favorite show of all time, folks. I've got some great guests. I've got a candidate that you've probably heard about in the news today. I've got the mayor of Herndon. I've got a candidate and a grassroots activist that you'll want to listen to coming up. But my first guest, my first very special guest, a very dear friend of mine, Justin Fairfax, a former federal prosecutor. He is the former 2013 Democratic candidate. He ran in the primary against Attorney General Mark Herring. Folks, he lost by a last-second three-point jump shot. It was close. Justin, brother, thank you for coming on, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
So what's going on in your life, man? What's been happening?
There's been some development.
Yeah, tell us.
All good things, though. But first of all, thank you so much for having me here on the show. I'm always excited to be here with you and the great crew here. And
real quick, I got to tell people,
please.
We had a conversation a couple years ago.
We did.
And I asked you then, Justin, if there's anything you ever want to announce, come on my show.
That's right.
And you are here today.
And I promised you then that I would do it.
You are a man of integrity.
I made my words.
Oh, you're a man of integrity.
So absolutely. So I'm happy to be here on a really wonderful day, and there's been incredible kind of buzz, and just sort of getting right to it. We announced today that I will be a candidate for Lieutenant Governor of Virginia in 2017, and we publicly launched our campaign today.
Excellent. Yes. Wow. You're getting back in it.
Yes, absolutely. And I really never left. You know, we're very passionate about the things that we focused on, which is, revolve around economic security and opportunity for Virginia's families. It's really the story of my life and kind of the passion that I have to provide for others. So we want to do it in this way, and people have responded really tremendously.
I tell you, I talked to a bunch of people today, and they were a little like, well, how'd you get Justin on your show? Like, well, you got
connections,
inside scoop, right? You get the inside scoop.
That's exactly right.
But people are really fired up about your announcement. Why do you think that is? I mean, I know why I got all this love for you, but you connect with people.
Well, I appreciate that very much, and I really have had the great fortune to meet really some incredible people over the course of not only my whole life, but certainly the last 3 or 4 years that we've been sort of out there on the trail talking with people, and it really has been an incredible connection, and all around the state. So we have folks in Southside, Hampton Roads, Richmond, the Valley, Southwest, and of course Northern Virginia.
We've got great name recognition.
It's been great. Doesn't hurt to be named after the county here in Fairfax, but yeah, we do. Particularly from that run in 2013, where, as you mentioned, we got a little over 48% of the vote. My first ever campaign, we got endorsed by the Washington Post in that race.
48 something to 51-ish.
Yes,
right?
It was razor thin, and in fact, it ended up being less than 2 votes per precinct statewide was the margin in the race. So it was a great race. We were 100% positive and really proud of what we were able to do, and also how much stronger we've gotten over the last several years. So
excellent.
People are very, very excited.
So what do you hope to do as a candidate for lieutenant governor?
Yeah. Well, certainly I'll talk a little bit about being a candidate and then about the office. I mean, first of all, again, that central theme that I focused on in the AG campaign and now in the lieutenant governor campaign is really about providing more economic security and opportunity for Virginia's families. And so what that means is that we want to make sure that more people can afford to buy homes and keep them. More people can afford to send their kids to college, and that students aren't burdened with sort of backbreaking debt that limits their future options in their careers, and that families can really thrive in Virginia. What we see a lot of economic anxiety in the country and certainly in the Commonwealth, and people for the first time really feel like their kids won't do as well as they did.
Right.
And that's exactly the opposite of what the American dream and the American ethos is. And so, and again, it's really just the story of my life. So this isn't even something that I had to study in a book. This is where where we were able to come from. Tough circumstances, and you and I have shared these stories, and we really share a great story, and the opportunities that we've gotten, our families, our communities, your faith, have all kicked in. And I mean, if you drew a line from where we started to where we are today, many people wouldn't believe it.
Right.
But it was because people gave us security and opportunity, and that's what I want for everybody.
I think that's great. In fact, I know we've had many conversations.
We have.
Tell people some of the personal triumphs and some of the lessons learned. I mean, because you have a great story.
Well, I appreciate it. And the thing is, my story is not uncommon,
right.
And unfortunately it's less common these days because people have had less access to opportunity, but we want to make it more common. And so, I started out, was actually born in Pittsburgh and raised in inner city Washington, D.C. in the mid-1980s. And, my parents divorced when I was young, loved them both, but that makes for a tough time. I was the youngest of four. And so I ended up being primarily raised by my mother and by my grandparents at a really, difficult time in the city's history. As you remember, in the mid-'80s in D.C., a lot of gangs, guns, drugs, and violence. And so I grew up, in that sort of environment. But again, the great part about that story is that even through sort of the tragedies that we endured, I had friends who were killed, I had people who, unfortunately went to jail, and, was that people still believed that it was possible for me and others to achieve great things. And they invested in us. They made sure we'd get a high quality education. They gave us as safe a community as they could. They put a roof over our heads and said, we're going to protect you. And what that led to is really this incredible thing to where today, my wife and I are now in a position that not only can we do that for our kids, but we can give them a much brighter future than even what was dreamed possible for us. And we want to expand that out to so many other people. So, as you know, my wife, Serena, Dr. Serena Fairfax, is a dentist, owns a dental practice here in Fairfax, Virginia. She's brilliant, so I definitely marry way. I punch way above my weight in that regard. She's spectacular, and we met in college. We met at Duke University, which I attended on a scholarship. Probably could not have afforded without that scholarship opportunity. My wife went on to MCV Dental School. She was just last year named the most outstanding dental school alumna of the decade for MCV. She was one of the top students in her class. And again, she has a similar story. And yet here we find ourselves the beneficiaries of so much opportunity, so much love, and we want to give that back. So we actually have endowed a scholarship at Duke University, which will hopefully allow more financially challenged students to attend. And because, people did that for us. And they say, to whom much is given, of whom much is required. And so that's the sort of theory that we live by, in both in our personal lives and in politics.
That's amazing. And there's, we only have a few minutes, but and that's what I mean. It's tell me a little bit more about kind of what you envision, the office and how you want to go about it.
Absolutely. And as you know, you're very familiar sort of with the office. As Lieutenant Governor in Virginia is a part-time position. So you go down to the General Assembly, you preside over the Senate, and so you play a significant role in the legislative process. But in addition to that, the Lieutenant Governor has a fairly broad portfolio, and so sits on a lot of boards and commissions. One of the most significant boards that the LG sits on is called the Council on Virginia's Future, and the goal and the mission of that council is really to kind of look around the corner on behalf of the Commonwealth, to think about the challenges that we have, not just from election to election, and certainly not on the basis of partisanship, but how do we make sure, again, that more people have access to opportunity, to access to capital, to start and grow small businesses, access to an affordable, high-quality education, and thinking about programs, legislation, and initiatives that can make sure that Virginia continues to move forward. So that's just one of the many duties and responsibilities that the LG has. As you know, something I sort of say all the time and preach is the future is now. And I really believe that. To me, it's not only a slogan, but it's a reality, because if we act today and invest today as if the future were now, we would make very different choices in many cases.
Absolutely.
And you know this, and you know this from your business world. You're a very successful business person. You look today and you look out 5 years. You don't just look quarter to quarter. And you invest in your people, you invest in R&D. You have to do that. And so we want to do that as a Commonwealth. More so.
I totally believe that when you invest, especially locally in your community.
That's right.
Then it doesn't become this big burden on the federal government, right?
That's exactly right.
If you could do a little bit more from a community, then kind of broaden out to the county.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay, Commonwealth. And then it's the country, man. Then it's it's all on fire, right?
That's exactly right. And what that highlights is, you're exactly right, is that we, people think about statewide, and Virginia is a very big place geographically. We have a little over 8 million people also who live here, but we actually really are a collection of communities. We are a collection of neighbors and neighborhoods and schools levels and civic associations and businesses. And when you think about it like that, it doesn't all of a sudden seem so big that it's unmanageable. And frankly, it brings us together in a much more significant way. I think when we look at it as, it's Cesar and Justin trying to figure out a problem. It's, Mayor Merkel of Herndon, who is just a great leader. It's us getting together and figuring out how do we solve these things as neighbors? How do we work positively? That's another thing that we're very focused on. And from 2013, we're in a completely positive race.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I think that's a reflection of not only who we are, but who we want to be. So you often have a lot of pettiness that goes on in politics, people slash and burn and personal attacks. That's just not me.
Oh, yeah.
It's just not, and it's not you. And the thing is,
Well,
we want to elevate. It depends. But what we want to do is elevate the political discourse. And so that's another significant piece of what we want to
No, I think that's great. And again, when you bite, especially in business, if you address the smaller problems more frequently, immediately with a sense of urgency, guess what? They don't become these monsters.
That's exactly, and it's true. It's true in business, it's true in government, and it's true in life. And so again, we want to make sure that people are getting those, everyday wins in their lives. I think too often, we talk about government, we talk about policy in very broad terms, and policy is my background. As you know, I was a public policy major at Duke University. I sit on the board of public policy at the Sanford School at Duke. And so I really think about policy a lot, and I get excited about it. But I also really get excited about people. Individual people, individual stories, individual communities, because when you start to get wins on the individual level and you have that cumulative effect, then you start to see the wave. I mean, it's just like it's just like in politics, in campaigning. When we started, we were at, I don't know if you can be at 0% in the polls, but if we could, that's where we were.
I remember you came to the meeting to announce to speak to the membership.
Yes, I know you remember that, and I actually want to say a quick word about that because it does tie into something. You were, of course, the great chair of the Fairfax County Democrats at the time, and here's one thing that I think speaks volumes, not only about you, but about how I think we should engage in politics. I walked into that meeting. We had maybe seen each other once or twice. I just sort of left my job as a federal prosecutor to run, and you gave me a chance to speak. There were a lot of people saying, well, who is this guy? And, what's his message going to be? And you said, well, you know what? It's in all fairness, he's declared, he's a Democrat, and I want to just give him the opportunity. I've never forgotten that.
Oh.
You treated me fairly.
Thank you.
Right? And that's what we...
So you should be.
That's how you should be. It's not always how it goes.
Yeah, they're like, no, who's this person?
Exactly. Have you been approved? And that's what you did. You treated me
it's
fairly.
Called inclusion.
It's called inclusion and opportunity.
Absolutely.
It's giving people a shot.
Absolutely.
And so I on a personal level, I want to thank you for that. I'll never forget it, and I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. Do you know what? We're like wrapping up our segment already.
I can't believe it.
It's like it's gone so fast. I want to get you back here.
Please.
I definitely want to have you come back. And
can I mention fairfaxforlg.com is our website, and we'd love for the viewers to come out.
So Fairfax for LG. FOR? LG. Brother, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Folks, we'll be right back with our next guest.
Just books at the library.
There's more than just books at the library.
Excuse me.
There's more than just books at the library.
Il y a plus que de livres à la bibliothèque.
Hello. You have a lot of great books here today. You know there's more than just books at the library.
I know.
There's more than just books at the library.
I don't want to be hooked to a machine.
I want all the medical treatment available to me.
I wouldn't want my family to have to make this decision.
My doctor knows what's best for me.
An advance directive is your life on your terms. Talk with your family. Decide what's right for you. Then put it in writing.
Documenting my wishes today means my family won't have to make heart-wrenching decisions later.
To learn more, visit www.putitinwriting.org.
1,200 American youth run away from their homes every day. The National Runaway Switchboard is here to help. 1-800-RUNAWAY. If you are a runaway, thinking about running away from home, or a parent or guardian concerned about issues facing your child, call us 24 hours a day. 1-800-RUNAWAY. In times of crisis, hope is just a phone call away. 1-800.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your hosts.
Hi, folks. Cesar back with you. Our next segment here, I have another very special guest, friend of mine. This lady, if you don't know her, is the mayor of Herndon. They've lived, actually her and her husband David have lived with their 2 beautiful children in Herndon since I think 2002. And if I'm wrong about that, she'll correct me. She's been on the council, she's been a council member, vice mayor, she's been the mayor a couple times, and she is running for re-election in November. Mayor Merkel, welcome to the show.
Cesar, thanks for having me back.
Always.
It's a blast. I love it.
You should be getting ready to vote right now. What's been going on in Herndon?
Well, you know, up until this year, our election would be tomorrow.
That's right.
So notice the calm, cool, collected look about me right now.
And that's why you can come on my show in May.
That's right, because we made the decision, as you know, last year to move our elections to November when more people are coming out to vote, because we, after a lot of public debate and discussion, decided, for me personally, there was no reason that it was not a great thing to have more people have access to the polls. So we made the big leap.
It's called representative government, I believe.
Yeah.
Funny thing.
So
you
amazing.
Actually believe in it.
Yeah, how about that?
Yay.
No, we're excited. We think we're going to have a great turnout. There are going to be people that show up at the polls that have no idea that they have a mayor and council to vote for. And we are hoping to be a breath of fresh air.
Time to educate people.
Absolutely. Well, with all the craziness going on at the top of the ticket, all over the place, we're looking forward to being a breath of fresh air on your doorstep.
So everywhere you go in Herndon, I see.
Wait, I know what you're going to say.
Dirt a turning. What's happening that's so cool in Herndon?
Oh my gosh! You know what? When we you live in downtown Herndon, so you know it's a gem, and it's just been waiting to really just blossom. Yeah. So we finally, and for 30 years, we've been talking about downtown redevelopment, revitalizing
it's been
people.
That long.
Really, 30 years, yeah. And, you know, we've had plans come and go. We've had people say we don't want to be, you know, super big and dense. We're a small town. We really value that. So we've gone through several years of planning, and we had to put an RFP out on the table back in December. Got 2 proposals in, and this summer we're going to go through the public process and hope to award a contract by the end of the year.
Whoa.
I know.
Big stuff.
Exciting. We've passed an arts district in our downtown. We're going to have an arts center. Our theater's moving downtown.
Yay.
So it's all for you, Cesar. So you can walk to it all.
I just want to walk this stuff. And that bike path area, that whole...
Oh, yeah.
All those new townhomes, all those new shops.
Well, you know that on the corner of Eldon and Monroe, it's Junction Square is what it's called.
That's
and we kind of affectionately called it Elmo from Eldon and Monroe, but the developers, they didn't really like that, but we thought it was pretty funny. But it's going to be townhouses, condos, and a few, a little bit of retail on the bottom floor. And that is particularly exciting to me because that is the piece of property that sort of got me in this whole mess I'm in right now, you know? Well, I don't want to dwell on the past because, you know, I'm about moving forward.
Sure.
But there was a hotel that had come in.
Yep.
It was a project that came in, had a lot of community support, and the council at that time voted it down at the 11th hour. And that was the night that I thought, you know what? I'm going to really look into this. I think I'm going to run for town council. So when that project fell by the wayside, and it took us several years to get through it, but we passed the new project I just mentioned, and dirt's turning.
Yay.
The day that started was a really exciting day for me. So yeah, it should be done in about 18 months.
Wow.
So rooftop decks overlooking downtown Herndon. It's going to be great.
Love that. So tell me about some of the other, because you've got Metro coming, 2 stations.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot happening.
There is a lot happening. You know, it's really a crazy, awesome time to be working as the mayor of a small town in Northern Virginia because, you know, what other town, you can't name one, has a metro station coming?
Town,
yeah. So what's really fun is we're sitting at the table. It's been one of the challenges, but also one of the exciting things is, you know, it's Loudoun County, it's Fairfax County, it's MY, it's WMATA, it's all these great, huge entities, and then the town of Herndon, who does we do have one of the metro stations will step down in the town. Also, just outside of our town limits, it will be the Innovation Station where CIT is, but that's going to be the station that's closest for lots of our residents to walk to.
Yeah, on that side.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and those are the folks that kind of need it the most, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it. If the platform on Herndon Station could have been 1,000 yards one way or the other, and totally missed the town of Herndon.
Oh, yeah.
And that would, I can't even imagine how detrimental that could have been. So we're taking full advantage of it.
Really dumb.
Well, we're glad to be a part of it. So
yeah,
we've got 38 acres there. It's really small. It's like 1% of the town has been rezoned into transit-oriented development, which is higher density.
Yeah. But it's not like oppressively dense, right? I mean, it's like reasonable.
Well, it is right up adjacent the toll road. It's what makes sense, and it tapers down toward Herndon Parkway. It gets smaller as it gets closer to single-family homes, and the vast majority of people are really excited about it. I mean, we're going to have mass transit in Herndon.
Yeah.
I really picture, someone sent me, these are the people that are moving to Herndon now. I got an article the other day from a new resident that said, hey, have you heard about this Google, self-driving cars? Some places are looking at how to make that part of their public transit system. Do you think we could do that in Herndon?
Sure.
I'm like, let's look into it.
Of course.
Those are the things that a small place might be able to take on, rather than, like Fairfax County would be really hard with 1 million people and, larger than the state of Rhode Island. So
I love your description. It's a gem, right? It's this undiscovered gem.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, so that's all great.
It is.
So what else is, I mean, you're running for mayor now. This will be your second,
This will be
third.
my third go for mayor. Yeah, time flies.
Oh my God.
I know. So I'm hoping to.
We met almost 8 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2008.
Yeah.
You invited me to your house.
That's right. I had an Obama event, right?
Yeah.
I remember. Okay.
Yeah, I remember that phone call. I said, I think I'm coming to your house, dude. Why are you still calling me?
Yeah. Just making sure. I need numbers.
So we've known each other for 8 years.
It's been great.
But it's really exciting. We've got great people on the council. We've got great people running for re-election. Our vice mayor, Jen Baker, is running for re-election along with Grace Wolf and Sheila Olam, who have served. We've served together the entire time. Strong women. They get things done.
I like it.
Absolutely.
I like the strong women. I think my mom raised me right that way.
Absolutely.
She did
Smart
a good
lady.
job.
Yeah, and we've got some great new candidates too. I know your next guest is Bill McKenna. I can't wait for everybody to meet him. Signe Friedrichs is looking to run for a seat. She's the executive director of the Arts Council, really involved in Rotary and lots of other things like that. And then Jeff Davidson, who's been really involved in the pedestrian bike community and also represents a very small HOA that is really on the edge of town. And I think he's going to bring a great voice to that part of the area that really hasn't been represented on the council before.
Good.
So we're excited, looking forward to it.
What are some of the things for just initiatives, priorities, top things you want?
Well, my top priority, as I always say, is downtown. We want to get our downtown redevelopment, off the page and into reality. It's really getting there. You should go to our website, the herndon-va.gov, search for downtown development. You can look at the two proposals. They're two very different, very exciting proposals, but it really speaks to what we've heard our residents say they want. So my goal is by the end of this calendar year to have that contract signed.
Wow.
So we're working on it.
So you got a new firehouse station?
Fire station is supposed to be finished this fall. That's an $11 million project that the county has funded for us, because as part of, Herndon town residents are Fairfax County taxpayers as well. So we get our fire and rescue and our schools, wonderful schools service from Fairfax County. I'm supposed to mention my favorite sheriff, Stacy Kincaid.
Our favorite sheriff.
I know. We have a great relationship with Stacy Kincaid in the sheriff's office. They work great with Herndon Police Department, which we have our own police department for our own 4 little square miles.
Luckily, I've never met any of them, so that's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Try to keep it that way.
Don't want to meet any of them, but I'm sure they're fine people.
Try to keep it that way. The controversy in town right now is we've started to enforce some parking restrictions in downtown, which has kind of been ignored for a long time. Well, we purchased a piece of property, the Stolman Subaru dealership, which will be redeveloped, but we've added about 100 parking spaces in the meantime. So
down on that section there?
Right. We're working right now. This is the exciting part of the job. We're working on getting some new signage so it's very clear, but we're trying to keep the parking regulations on the streets. Right now they're 2-hour parking. We're debating whether we'd like to make it a 3-hour restriction, because some you go get your hair done. Well, maybe not everybody.
Not some of us.
Or you go, to the Breeze.
Talk to people,
Or you go to the Breeze to watch a soccer game or football game. It takes longer than 2 hours. But we're trying to make sure those street spaces are for the customers who are coming coming in and out of the businesses and encouraging our business, the employees and owners to park a little bit further away. So it's a little bit of a transition, but we'll get there. I'll take that as a controversy in the town of Herndon.
Sure, more bike racks always help. More bike racks and stuff.
Bike racks, can't get enough of them. Yeah. Our trail is the only lighted part of a bike trail in Fairfax County.
Hello, I called you or texted you when the lights came on.
Yeah, you did.
They're odd.
They are, and we're working to get a grant. We didn't get the last grant we applied for, but we're applying again in June. We want to finish it the whole way through the trail, so you'll
all the
way to Crestview.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so when that is completed, the entire route through the town of Herndon will be, the lights are on. You'll know you're there.
You're turning dirt and turning stuff on, man. That is awesome. I didn't know that. By the way, lots of people walk down that thing. Friday Night Lives to come in.
Well, Friday Night Live starts this Friday.
No.
Absolutely.
That's right, it's May.
I know, it's May.
Oh my gosh.
I really, yeah.
Friday Night Lives.
I was going to make a joke. I'm not going to do it. Okay. No, but Friday Night Live, it's the biggest thing in town. It's really.
It is.
People are so excited to come.
Everyone should come to Friday Night Live
Absolutely.
at least once, right?
Absolutely.
It's free, right?
It's free. Parking's free. It benefits the tips and all the tip jars benefit our all-night grad party. Mm-hmm. This is our 22nd year. So it's been named the best outdoor concert series by multiple magazines, and people come from all over, but what's really great is you see your neighbors there. I mean, it's right out your back door, and we walk 2 or 3 blocks down. And
I can hear it from my house.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
So I'll be there Friday.
So I had heard that some people were not wanting to keep that going. Is that true, or? I mean, we're gonna keep Friday Night Live.
Friday Night Live is not going anywhere. It is our signature event, absolutely. And I can only think of a couple people who don't think so. So no worries.
Okay, good.
Oh yeah.
Because that would.
They started the hashtag Herndon Rocks. I mean, I'm not messing with that.
Okay. Well, in that case, we have no choice but to keep it going.
Exactly. No, it's really truly what helped me find downtown Herndon. Years ago, before we lived in town, we're driving through Herndon and said, what in the world is going on down there?
Yeah.
And Dave and I hopped out of the car. Gonzo's Nose was playing, and we started coming every week. And bought our house, much like you did, because you want to be by the bike trail. We're like, hey, location, location, location.
Oh, yeah.
And we thought something wonderful must be about to happen downtown.
I tell you, look, I mean, I think I've said this to you. I'll say it again on the record. I think it's a tribute to your leadership, the council, the focus on the long-term vision of where the town should be. And it's investing in that community, much like Justin talked about. You just can't have stuff happen or stay the same.
Right.
I mean, there's a constant need to invest in things. And
exactly.
Although you may not see the payoff immediately, but you can see the long term. That's, I think, a tribute to where you've been able to focus the council.
Well, thank you. We have worked really hard, and you can't do it alone. It takes 4 votes to get anything done. Most of the time, our decisions are close to unanimous, if not unanimous, because we're making the right decisions. We're focusing on the things that we can control, and we've listened to our residents, especially about the downtown, who have said, "Hey, we don't want this to be another Reston Town Center. We love Reston Town Center. It's a mile away.
I can go there when I want.
Right. We can hop on the bike trail and be there in 10 minutes. But we really want to hold on to that kind of festival atmosphere. It's a place where people come and and gather. We have the concerts, we have the farmers market, all those things. So
Herndon Festival, Wine Festival, all the stuff going on in Herndon. C.Merkel, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. I will support you and your team, and I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you very much. See you in November.
Oh, absolutely. Folks, we'll be right back.
I helped turn my child's public school into a whole new kind of school. One with a curriculum that really motivates kids. One that has extended hours, 6 days a week, year-round. With loads of academic, cultural, and recreational activities. One that has support services like medical and dental right there. A school where parents' involvement is encouraged. Where teachers have more time to teach. And students are excited about learning. There's just one problem. My child doesn't ever want to come home. You can help turn your school into a community school for excellence. Find out how. Call 1-877-LOVE-TO-LEARN.
It's coming. right to your neighborhood. And when it does, you may be surprised. It's your Social Security statement of your benefits, and it's going to help you plan your financial future. Your benefit statement will tell you how much Social Security you're eligible to receive and when you'll get it. Then you'll know how much you need to save for retirement, because that's coming too. The future is in your hands. Choose to save.
The toxic fumes from this meth lab are seeping into Jamie's sinus cavity. Ammonia vapors invade her throat. Toxic gases fill her lungs. Jamie's body is deteriorating. And she doesn't even know it.
Jamie, dinner.
So, who has the drug problem now? Find out how meth affects you at drugfree.org/.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here, back with you. My next guest, Bill McKenna. You're gonna like this guy. He is fairly new to Herndon politics, but he knows what he's doing. This guy was elected at the age of 24 to his hometown council seat. I believe it was a borough in New Jersey, but I'll let him talk to you about that. He's also in the IT field, so we have a lot in common. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Why the heck do you want to jump in and run for council again?
Well, I mean, I did it back when I originally got the idea when I was 23.
Yeah.
My parents had a newspaper shop in Denell, New Jersey, borough form of government, mile square town, but we had our own school system, our own.
Within a mile?
Yeah, 61 kids in my graduating class, public high school, state champions in football.
16, okay.
Small enough to hit you hard, yeah. So exactly. But when I went to West Virginia Wesleyan College, came back, and my parents had a newspaper shop downtown, which I worked at my whole life since I was 4. Mm-hmm. But there was things going on downtown, like the downtown district wasn't being redeveloped. The roads were being delayed with the state coming through there. The road were a complete mess, and they couldn't do anything. So I decided to run for my parents because they didn't really have a voice. They lived in town, so did I. But I just got tired of the infighting and the bickering. And my dad said, "Be careful what you wish for. Might come true." I did run, and I was actually the first Democrat elected because we had partisan politics there, but the first one elected in 25 years. On a borough form of government, so we had 6 council people and 1 mayor.
That's quite the aware 24-year-old. I mean, most 24-year-olds aren't really sort of inspired to run for stuff. I mean, what was going through your mind other than, like, what could you do at that age?
Well, I saw what was going on. There was a lot of infighting, and tax rates were not stable. Mm-hmm. We had a high debt ratio. I actually looked at that stuff when I was in my 20s. I was worried about that. But, our infrastructure was crumbling, and there was a lot of people just upset with the process, and people just, instead of focusing on what mattered to them, they were worried about appointments to certain things. So I decided to throw my hat in the ring and do something about it, and I think I accomplished some things there.
How long were you on the council for?
I was there for 4 years. I took over an unexpired term, and then for 1 term before, after I had to forfeit my seat because I moved down to Northern Virginia with my job.
Sure. So how'd you find your way to Herndon? Because, I mean, kind of like from Jersey, West Virginia.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was when I was in New Jersey, I worked for ING Financial Services, now Voya Financial, as an internal wholesaler in the New Jersey and New York office. Okay. They were looking to open an office in the Washington, D.C. area, and they asked if I wanted to go. People would joke with me saying, we figured you'd end up in D.C. one day. We didn't think it'd be in sales. Mm-hmm. So I ended up down here and moved to Alexandria because it was close by my office. I lived in Old Town for about 10 years. And I learned a lot of, I met a lot of good people there, including Senator Warner. He was someone I knew pretty well down there. But in that little area, I got to know some people. And then something kind of sad happened. My mother and father got really sick. My mother got terminal cancer. My father had dementia to the point where he really didn't remember anything. So I quit everything, moved back home with my mom and dad for 6 months, and then reevaluated things and actually got a job with Oracle as an IT representative selling their apps and database software. Mm-hmm. And traveling from Alexandria to Reston
Yeah,
every day
it doesn't work.
is impossible. So
work. Okay.
I lived in Reston for 6 months, but then one day I went with a few people to Jimmy's Old Town Tavern for lunch.
Done.
And I just
Done
said,
deal.
reminded me of Danelle, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Yeah.
you know, it just, I saw Town Square, and everything, there was no chains.
Yeah.
It was just refreshing. I was like, oh my God, this is exactly where I need to be.
Yeah, awesome.
And I've been there ever since.
Well, I'm right there with you, brother. That's a great story connection.
Yeah.
It really is a cool town, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean.
And how long have you lived in Herndon now?
I've lived in since 2011.
Okay.
And I've, you know, through things, in fact, with Mayor, you know, C.Merkel, I got to be friends with her, you know, outside of everything, and just a wonderful person, a great mentor in regards to the things that go on in town. And, you know, I was asked by multiple people, hey, you know what, you think you should throw your hat in the ring? And I said, yeah, I mean, because I love this town so much. I think that the job of a person who gets elected is to make the lives of other people better. Yeah. You know, and I've been blessed with many things, great parents, a great, you know, growing up in a small town, having friends that have my back through everything that's been, that good and bad that's happened to me. And I want to give back, and this is a way I think I can do it. And I've had some experience at it, which, you know, 18 years later, here I am running again.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I like the fact that just the sales background, you got to focus on results.
Exactly right.
Right? I mean, so there's a bunch of stuff that needs to be done. Let's take them one at a time and get them done, basically, right?
Actually, this is a pretty funny story. When I got my job with ING, I didn't have a sales background when I first started, but I actually was mentored under a person named Ginger Brennan, who was she would sell $1 billion in 401k plans a year. She's a monster in a good way. And I was going for the job and no sales acumen, but I had just won an election. So she's like, well, you don't have any sales background. What makes you think you're qualified for the job? I'm like, well, I got the most votes in a city council race about 6 months ago. You know, I think that's marketing. I think that's sales.
Absolutely.
So, you know, and I went to every single, I mean, even though my town's much smaller, I went to over 2,000 houses and knocked on everyone's door, including people who, you know, even if they weren't going to vote for me, just have a conversation with them, because in the end, I would be their representative as well.
Well, that's a lot of doors, but there's more doors in Herndon.
There's a lot more. There's actually 4 times as many doors.
So when are you starting to knock on those doors?
Well, I actually officially today put out a bunch of stuff on Facebook, launched my website and some other things. And it was funny, I went to a community event back in middle April, and I wasn't sure, you know, again, I thought I knew some people, but when I went there, I was absolutely shocked how many people I did know and how many people had thought I was going to be running, and really wished me luck. And that's the other thing that's great about Herndon too, because, you know, it's a small town, the affiliations one way it doesn't matter. They're more concerned about somebody who's willing to get in there and get the job done.
What are you going to do?
Exactly. And, you know, what's been going on in Herndon the past few years has been really exciting, and I'm really proud when I go to see other friends of mine from around the country, or they come to see me. You know, they love, you know, going down to, we watch EPL soccer on Saturday mornings at
O'Sullivan's. Sure.
Yeah, and
they open up at like 6 a.m.
That's exactly right. And then,
so folks at home, if you don't know this, let me tell you, the O'Sullivans there, when they do have the World Cups and the Premier Leagues and
rugby,
stuff, they will open up at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. to show those shows.
Absolutely, and it's a lot of fun. And I got, you know, again, it's just that's, you see all the expats and people from other countries that come in. It's fantastic. It's just wonderful.
Look, you just touched on something that's really cool about Herndon. It's a little known fact that it's as diverse as Fairfax County is.
Yes.
There's so many different nationalities, so many different people. I mean, there's 130-some restaurants, you know, all these different food varieties. It's just an amazing melting pot of people, isn't it?
And it's something I'm used to, because my hometown was in Middlesex County, but in a very urban area. So I was close to Rutgers, New Brunswick, and some other places. And my dad used to joke, only in America can an Indian man deliver a Polish newspaper to an Irish newsstand. And you just have that everyone knew each other and everyone loved each other. And and that's one thing I love about this town, is that it doesn't matter where you're from. Everyone's very friendly, and it's just an open place. And I fell in love with it the first time I set foot inside.
So what's going to be your premier initiative, or something that you want to own and contribute?
Well, continue on the progress that we're having downtown. As a person who grew up in a downtown, my parents had a newspaper shop in my hometown growing up. Downtown development and also existing businesses matter a lot to me. They are the lifeblood of any town. Main Street means something. It's next to Park Avenue, the most popular street name in the country. So downtown district is very important to me. Also, too, one thing I was very good at is I can look at budgets and things of that nature. I was able to balance budgets. I was finance chairman my second year and third year on council. I was able to rein in some spending and also help with consolidate some debt and looking at overall budget picture. So looking at the budget, making sure that that's stable, having short-term, mid-term, and long-term growth projects to see what we can do.
You got to invest, right?
Exactly.
I mean, you got to invest. I mean,
invest and also,
the right things. Right?
Yeah, right. But also have rainy days, so if something does happen, catastrophic, you're ready for it.
I think your financial background, and I did not know this about you.
Yeah.
I did not know you had that. And
yes.
That's actually key, because too many people want to pull back everything, not spend a damn thing, not invest in anything. In fact, keep cutting my overall investment, and I don't want to plan for the future.
Right.
But you have to do that in business. You have to do that in communities across the country, right? I mean, because otherwise, what are we doing? We're not progressing anywhere.
Well, the other thing too is my analogy for that when I do 401k sales, like, okay, if someone doesn't understand the growth of something, I'll be like, okay, your roof has a leak in it. Okay, if you don't do anything, what happens to that leak? It just gets bigger and it costs more to do. So preventive maintenance is very important, and more importantly, being able to understand if something happens, that's where you got to take care of business.
No, I think that will be valuable. And I didn't know, to be able to prioritize some of those. You may have differing opinions with other people, but look, at some point we got to prioritize where we're placing the dollars.
Right.
And just I don't think people, for me, understand you can't cut your way out of these life challenges. You have to pour back into the things that you're going to want to reap.
You have to focus on what matters, right? And cutting just doesn't. All it does is eventually, when you go through a muscle, you'll go through bone, and once you go through bone, you're done.
Yeah. I mean, look, businesses make poor choices and poor investments all the time.
Right.
So people need to understand sometimes a government or a body may make a poor decision.
Right.
But that's why you have a yearly budget review.
Right. Exactly. Right. And
to adjust
audit
it. Right. So.
And then one more thing I like to do is get our relationship with, maintain a relationship and build it stronger with Richmond and also with Washington, D.C. I was very instrumental in a Greenbrook Flood Control Committee. Frank Pallone, who was a Democratic councilman, and Bob Franks, who passed away, was a Republican congressman, great guy to work with. We got $1 billion flood control plan because back in 1998, my first year on council, the town next to me had 13 feet of water in our downtown district, and we had 3 feet of water. It was absolutely catastrophic. So keeping those relationships and building them up so we can get grants and have money come back to Herndon. So things like the firehouse can be less of an impact on Herndon residents.
So what you can do also is all those contacts from all those previous jobs, just call them up and come to Herndon. Come to Herndon, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, and people, like I said, my friends love visiting. People from Old Town, and my friends from New Jersey always like to come back.
And you always find somewhere someone's going to invest, whether it's through a home or a business or something. I mean, that's just that's kind of the type of council member we might need. So.
And I want to invest my heart with the town because I fell in love with it. It's been great, and I really, really love being here.
Well, I think you certainly got my vote. So wish you well. You got to be knocking on them doors, pounding on doors, and ask everyone for money because you're going to need some money. These are not cheap. So definitely, Bill, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Hope you enjoyed coming on.
I did. This was great. I really appreciate it.
So we'll get you back and make sure we got some more things for you.
You got it. Thank you.
Folks, we'll be back with our last segment.
Some dreams are universal. Dreams that inspire us. Multiple sclerosis is a devastating disease that changes lives forever. The National MS Society does more for people with MS than any organization in the world. But we can't do it alone. To get involved, visit us online at nationalmssociety.org or call 1-800-FIGHT-MS. This is why we're here. Because nobody dreams of having multiple sclerosis.
What's wrong with this picture? Half of young Americans can't locate economic powers like Japan and India. 20% can't even find the Pacific Ocean. Without geography, our children aren't ready for the world. Geography is everywhere. It's incredible creatures, rhythm, fashion, flavor. It's economics and politics. It's change. Understanding connections between people and places is critical in the 21st century. That's why we created mywonderfulworld.org. Go there now for your free parent and teacher action kits and give our kids the power of global knowledge. Because kids who understand our world today can succeed in it tomorrow.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Hi folks, Cesar here. Welcome back to our final segment. This is a good one, folks. I'm really excited about you all meeting my good friend, Kimberly Smith. Currently, she is the field director for Northern Virginia's volunteer organization, I guess I can call it. It's a voter registration program. It's New Virginia Majority. They have been involved in trying to get people mobilized, registered. Kim's been in this area for a long time. She's been in the area for a long time. She's worked on campaigns. She's spent 20 years at Oracle. We've got other high-tech companies to talk about. Kim, welcome to the show.
Cesar, thank you. I so appreciate being here this evening.
Absolutely. Now, I tell people, you tell me what to do, and I get it done, right? I mean, you know what's happening. You know what's happening. Tell us about your current sort of initiative with New Virginia Majority. What's going on there?
You know, it's been a road to get here, and I would say that this is my just favorite position since, let me say, entering political organizing. And the reason that it's my favorite is because it's not only working with the volunteers, which really is my passion. I love working with volunteers. But it's now specifically focused on voter registration. Not a candidate. It's for people to simply be able to.
It's nonpartisan.
It's nonpartisan.
Just register.
Just register.
That's great.
I just so strongly believe in the process of registering to vote, then exercising your right to vote.
So there's a lot of, I heard there was a lot of folks that are still not registered in the state, in the Commonwealth.
Shocking number of people.
It's hundreds of thousands, right? I mean, it's
literally hundreds of thousands. And there are people that are just not interested in the political process. There are people that simply are overwhelmed by the responsibility to vote. And then there are people that have been disenfranchised. So the people that don't vote fall into many different categories. And my goal this year is to register as many people as possible so that we can have, in November, an electorate that fairly represents the population of Virginia, which, as you know, is ever changing.
Especially up here.
Especially in Northern Virginia.
That's the thing, that it's very transient. So people that come in don't necessarily register.
Absolutely. People not only don't register because of not being interested, but people's lives are very, very busy. And so when people have children or jobs, travel, voter registration, changing their address is something that is left to the last minute. And there is a deadline. This year, I believe it's October 17th. So people miss that by just a couple of hours or a day, and they're not able to vote.
So let me take the contrarian view.
Okay, good.
I don't believe this, but there are some out there, some of my friends, there's way too much voter fraud going on. There's way too much shenanigans going on at the polls.
Right.
Help me with this, Kim.
Well, I just simply do not believe it. Okay. So first and foremost, when you're at the polls, you have to prove your identity, if you will. And you also, in order to register to vote, you've got to have a valid citizenship. You've got to have a Social Security number. You've got to have your information that is provable to the Board of Elections. And it is up to the Board of Elections to validate somebody's information. So I just do not believe that there is voter fraud.
I've asked people to bring proof, and I haven't had that yet. So again, you're nonpartisan, so you could care. You don't ask. You don't.
No, no. During the act of registering voters, we look very much like you and I do. There is no party hat. There's no party pins. There's no T-shirts. Absolutely. And we also absolutely believe it is not a matter for whom you vote. It is a matter that you vote. I just strongly believe that.
And I think really, I think most people, the bell curve would agree that it doesn't matter so much the who, but that we have representative government.
Exactly. Right. And if we were to look at the 3 prior guests, which all of them are just fantastic, each in their own way stated that same important level of importance, and that is, we want people to vote. And town of Herndon is just a tremendous example that there have been elections in May. Just by the nature of the month, kind of in a way disenfranchises many of the voters in Herndon, and that's why I'm
everyone's away at breaks or what, no one knows May.
Nobody thinks about an election in May, so that it's been moved to November. I think there's going to be much more involvement from the electorate, and not just because it's a presidential election year, but because it's in November. That's when people think about elections. So being able to engage all of our Virginia citizens in the process of voting, I think that's what's important.
So voter registration in the Commonwealth is it's a year-round task, right? I mean, because you have elections, special elections, this, and I mean...
It's an every year. Every single year we need to be engaged with voter registration. It's a changing population. A lot of people move, whether it be from literally one apartment across the hall or down the street, from one city to the next, coming in for a job, or new citizens. 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds need to register to vote. New citizens need to register to vote. It is a year-round process, but it's an every year process.
So help us with the process. So if you move from within the county, let's say you move from Vienna to Reston or to Herndon, would those people have to re-register?
Absolutely.
Okay. So,
absolutely. So. If you move anywhere, from anywhere, you need to update your voter registration. Literally, I've had one voter this year literally moved next door to the apartment next door.
Same precinct, everything?
Oh no, same building, same floor. Okay. They needed to update their voter registration, and the reason is because that should match other documentation that you have about your address. So a lot of times people use their driver's license. That should match. If you are using your passport, the address on the passport should match.
The latest, or over the last couple years of sort of the IDs and the requirements, the statements, has it been made easier to vote now, or is it a little bit tougher to register? I mean,
it's if you ask different people, they'll give you different answers. My opinion, they've made it more difficult.
More difficult.
For 2 reasons. One is because now a photo ID is absolutely required. If you do not have a photo ID...
A photo ID from...
Any state-issued institution. So it can be a driver's license.
What if I don't have a car? I take mass transit.
Well, isn't that part of it? So part of the challenge. So people are able to go to DMV to obtain a photo ID. That's
How do I get
absolutely
there?
fine.
How do I get there?
That's the challenge.
Okay.
If people work for a government institution, they can use that photo ID. A Virginia State University, that student ID is acceptable.
I'm working at a fast food place. I don't have the means.
And then you will have to find, again, maybe you have a passport. Maybe you have a relatively recent military ID. Possibly you have the ability to get to a DMV to have
74% of the country don't have passports.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So
you can see that
I just can't walk in with a birth certificate.
No. No photo ID on the birth certificate. Social Security card, no longer acceptable. Your actual voter card from the Board of Elections, no longer acceptable.
the one they mail me, telling me where I vote, I just can't walk in there with that.
No, you can walk in there with that, that's fine, but you must still have a photo ID.
Photo ID.
Yeah. So I do believe that it's been made more difficult.
Okay.
And that's one of the things during our process of registering voters. We do have information for the voters, takeaways, flyers they can take home so that they know what are the acceptable photo IDs.
It's a big sort of segment, numbers-wise. I mean, do you have any metrics? What are your goals? What do you hope to achieve? I mean,
my goal would, of course, to be register every single voter.
Oh, geez.
But the reality is that we would like to register several hundred thousand, over 100,000.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, specifically, the number is 175,000. That's the number that we would like to get to.
Really? For this year?
For this calendar year, statewide, not just Northern Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are the more targeted areas? I mean, I think.
Yeah, good question.
Rural and dense, I mean.
Yeah, certainly the more urban areas, and voter registration is all about foot traffic. So that's the first thing. Secondly, New Virginia Majority is very interested in segments of the population in Virginia that are typically underrepresented, certainly from an electorate standpoint. So we're interested in immigration rights, we're interested in climate change, we're interested in, you may be familiar with the Governor McAuliffe's recent order for restoration of rights.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And that's,
we're going to do a whole show on that, by the way.
That's fantastic. So that's actually something that New Virginia Majority has been working on for several years.
Good.
So the segment of the population that we're most interested in are people of color, immigrants, women, young, so minorities. We're very interested in making sure that the electorate represents the full population.
And you know, interesting you say that, because really, if you look at the numbers, if you dial into who votes, who doesn't vote, that is a huge portion of the voting potential block of people. And you can, I mean, I looked at the numbers in Herndon, and it's like, wow, this is not right. I mean, so, but I guess to get them energized, to get them registered, that is
the challenge.
Yeah.
That is the challenge. And what we're looking at this year, what are the issues that are important to the voting population?
Those specific folks.
Those specific folks, that's exactly right. Because at the end of the day, it is the issues that bring the voters out. Oftentimes it is a candidate, for sure, but it is also the issues. So we're trying to tie that.
I think that 100%. I think, look, the parties are the parties. And they do what they do, but you have to inspire people with your issues.
That's exactly right.
You have to connect with those issues, and I think that's how you mobilize these people that can't get energized. I mean, you can't talk to them about being part of my party. So.
Exactly.
Kim, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. It's always good to see you.
Absolutely. Folks, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be back next week.